Ambassador Hyun-woo Kim stood at the viewing window of the transport ship as it approached Nexus Prime. The planet looked beautiful from space, with its blue oceans and white clouds. But Hyun-woo knew this was not a pleasure trip. This was humanity's first chance to join the Galactic Council, and everything depended on the next few days. "Sir, we will arrive at the station in 30 minutes, said Mi-young Park, his aide. She was young but very smart. Hyun-woo had picked her himself for this important mission. Mi-young had studied all the alien languages and customs for months. Dong-min. Lee, their military attaché, checked his uniform one more time. He was not here to fight, but to show that humanity was strong and organized. His job was to make sure the aliens respected human military power. Dongmin had served in the Terran Defense Force for 15 years and knew how to handle difficult situations. Sun-hee Cho, their xenobiologist, was reading her notes about the different alien species they would meet. She understood how the aliens thought and lived. This knowledge would help the team avoid making mistakes that could ruin the negotiations. "Remember," Hyun-woo told his team, "we are here to show that humans deserve a place in the galactic community. We have been alone for too long. Our colonies need trade partners and protection from pirates. The Council can give us both." The transport, ship-docked at the massive space station orbiting Nexus Prime. The station was huge, bigger than any human building. It had sections for different types of aliens who needed different air and gravity. Some aliens breathed methane gas, others lived in water. The station could handle them all. When they stepped off their ship, Hyun-woo saw aliens he had only seen in pictures before. There were tall, thin creatures with blue skin walking next to small, round beings that rolled instead of walked. The diversity was amazing, but also intimidating. A Velthari guide met them at the docking bay. The Velthari looked like living crystal, glowing with soft light. It spoke through a translation device that made its voice sound like music. "Welcome, humans. I am Keeper Sylvan. The Council is waiting for you. Please follow me." As they walked through the station corridors, Hyun-woo noticed how the other aliens looked at them. Some seemed curious. Others appeared hostile. A few seemed to think humans were beneath their notice. The council chambers were enormous. The ceiling was so high that clouds formed near the top. Different sections of the room had different atmospheres for different species. The human section had normal air and gravity, but it felt small compared to the spaces given to other delegations. 12 species made up the Galactic Council. Each had ruled parts of the galaxy for thousands of years. The Velthari were the oldest, having built cities when humans were still using stone tools. The Mordan were beings of pure gas who had mastered space travel before humans invented the wheel. Primarch Zilmoth of the Velthari was the council leader. Its crystal body was larger than the other Velthari, and its light pulsed with authority. When it spoke, all other sounds in the chamber stopped. "Humans of Earth," Zilmoth said, "you come before the council seeking membership. This is unusual. Most species are invited to join after proving themselves worthy over many centuries. You have been spacefaring for less than 200 years. Hyun-woo stepped forward. "Honored Primarch, humanity has spread to over 50 star systems in that time. We have built cities, established trade routes, and shown we can live in peace with our neighbors. We believe we are ready to join the larger galactic community." A Mordan council member, appearing as a swirling cloud of purple gas, made a sound like wind through caves. The translator made its words clear. 50 systems in 2 centuries? Such rapid expansion shows lack of wisdom. Young species often expand too fast and then collapse. We have not collapsed, Dongmin said firmly. Our colonies are strong and well defended. Our people are happy and productive. Another council member, a creature that looked like a giant spider made of metal, clicked its legs together. Happy and productive, perhaps. But do you understand the responsibilities of galactic citizenship? Do you know the ancient laws that keep peace between species? Sun He answered this question. We have studied your laws and customs for decades. We understand that membership means following council decisions and contributing to galactic defense. We are prepared for these responsibilities. The discussions continued for hours. Each council member asked difficult questions about human history, technology, and intentions. Some questions seemed designed to find flaws in human society. Others tested whether humans would follow orders from alien governments. During a break, Ma Young whispered to Hyunwoo, "Sir, some of their questions seem strange. They keep asking about our military strength and resource production. It feels like they want to know our weaknesses more than our strengths." Hyunwoo had noticed the same thing. The questions about human military capabilities were very detailed. The council wanted to know exactly how many ships humans had, where their bases were located, and what weapons they used. "Perhaps they need this information for defense planning," he whispered back. But he was starting to feel uneasy. When the session resumed, Primarch Zilmoth made an announcement that surprised everyone. The council has decided to postpone the membership decision. We require more information about human activities in the Outer Rim territories. What kind of information? Hyunwoo asked. There have been reports of unauthorized human settlements in systems that belong to council member species. We need explanations for these violations of galactic law. This was news to Hyunwoo. As far as he knew, all human colonies were in unclaimed space. I was not aware of any violations. Could you provide specific details so we can investigate? The details will be provided tomorrow, Zilmoth said. For now, you will remain as our guests. Quarters have been prepared for you in the diplomatic section. As they were escorted to their rooms, Dongmin noticed something troubling. Sir, those aren't diplomatic guards. Those are security troops. I can tell by their equipment and formation. Rooms were comfortable but clearly monitored. There were sensors in the walls and cameras in every corner. This was not how guests were usually treated. That night, as the team gathered in Hyunwoo's room, they shared their concerns. Something is wrong here, Mi Young said. I tried to send a routine report to Earth, but our communications are being blocked. They claim it's for security reasons. Sun He had been analyzing the behavior of the council members. The way they look at us reminds me of how humans look at insects. They don't see us as equals. They see us as problems to be solved. Dongmin was checking the windows and doors. These quarters can be sealed from the outside. If they wanted to, they could trap us here with no way to escape. Hyunwoo thought about everything that had happened. The suspicious questions, the security guards, the blocked communications, and now the suggestion that humans had violated galactic law. It was starting to look like a setup. We came here hoping to join the galactic community, he said quietly. But I think they brought us here for a different reason. They want something from humanity, and they're not planning to ask nicely. Outside, their windows, the lights of Nexus Prime twinkled in the darkness. Somewhere out there, beyond the reach of their sensors, human colonies continued their daily lives. Those people were counting on this mission to secure their future. Hyunwoo made a decision. Whatever the council was planning, He would not let them harm humanity without a fight. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight he needed to prepare his team for what might be their greatest test. The next morning brought bad news. Primarch Zilmoth presented the human delegation with a list of accusations that made Hyunwoo's blood run cold. According to the council, human colonies had been built in 17 different star systems that supposedly belonged to various council member species. These settlements are clear violations of galactic law, Zilmoth announced. Some have existed for over 50 years. How do you explain this illegal expansion? Hyunwoo studied the list carefully. Every system mentioned was one that human surveys had found empty of intelligent life. Detailed scans had shown no signs of civilization, no artificial structures, and no claim markers. Yet now the council was saying these systems had owners. "Honored Primarch," Hyunwoo said, "our surveys of these systems found no evidence of previous claims. We have detailed records of our exploration missions. In every case, we followed standard protocols for claiming unclaimed space." A Morden council member swirled angrily. "Your protocols mean nothing. These systems have been ours for thousands of years. The fact that we were not actively using them does not mean they were available for human settlement." Sun-Hee stepped forward with her datapad. "Could you provide us with the original claim documents for these systems? Our xenoarchaeologists would be very interested to study evidence of ancient settlements that our surveys missed." The question seemed to make several council members uncomfortable. A spider like Kethari clicked its legs nervously. "Such documents are archived in sacred vaults. They are not for viewing by outsiders." "Then how can we verify these claims?" Dongmin asked bluntly. "In human law, claims must be supported by evidence." "Human law does not apply here," Zilmoth said coldly. "Galactic law is what matters, and galactic law says that elder species have priority over younger ones." During the lunch break, Mi Young managed to access some of the station's data networks. What she found made the situation much clearer and much worse. "Sir?" she whispered to Hyunwoo as they ate in their monitored quarters. "I found shipping records in the station's commercial database. For the past 30 years, council member species have been mining asteroids and harvesting resources from those disputed systems. They've been taking millions of tons of rare metals and crystals." Hyunwoo felt anger building in his chest. "They've been stealing from our colonies for decades, and now they're claiming legal ownership?" "It gets worse," Mi Young continued. "I found communications between council members discussing the human problem. They've been planning this confrontation for months. They never intended to offer us real membership." That afternoon, Hyunwoo decided to confront the council directly. "We have discovered evidence that council member species have been illegally harvesting resources from human space for many years. How do you explain this theft?" The chamber fell silent. Several council members exchanged looks that the translation devices couldn't interpret, but their body language was clear enough. Finally, Zilmoth responded. "Resource collection from unused space is standard practice. If humans were too primitive to notice or prevent it, that is not the council's concern." "Too primitive?" Hyunwoo's voice rose. "You've been stealing from us and then blaming us for not stopping you?" A new voice entered the conversation. It belonged to a Krexhari, a race of beings that looked like walking trees. "Young human, you do not understand your place in the galactic order. New species must prove themselves worthy before claiming equal rights." "And how exactly do we prove ourselves?" Sun-Hee asked. "By accepting guidance from your betters," the Krexhari replied. "By learning humility and patience." Dongmin had been quietly observing the security forces around the chamber. He now noticed something alarming. "Sir," he whispered to Hyunwoo, "more guards have arrived. Military-grade weapons. This looks like preparation for an arrest." Mi Young was monitoring communications frequencies with a hidden device. "I'm picking up coded transmissions between the guard units. They're coordinating positions around all the exits." The afternoon session became increasingly hostile. Council members began making demands instead of asking questions. They wanted detailed lists of all human military assets. They demanded the locations of all human colonies and bases. They insisted on the right to inspect human ships and installations. "These demands are unreasonable," Hyunwoo said firmly. "No sovereign species would agree to such intrusions." "Sovereignty must be earned," Zilmoth replied. "Humans have not yet earned the right to call themselves sovereign." As the session continued, it became clear that the Council saw humans as children who needed to be controlled, not equals who deserved respect. Every human achievement was dismissed as luck or accident. Every human success was credited to council member species who had supposedly helped them secretly. "You think your expansion was your own doing?" a Velthari counselor asked mockingly. "Who do you think provided the star charts that guided your ships? Who cleared the pirate fleets from your early trade routes?" This was the first time anyone had mentioned such help. According to human records, early expansion had been done through careful exploration and hard-won victories against pirates and natural hazards. "If you helped us," Hyunwoo said, "we were never informed. We would have been grateful for assistance, but we have no record of receiving any." "Gratitude can be shown in many ways," Zilmoth said meaningfully. "Obedience is one form of gratitude." That evening, as the delegation gathered in their secured quarters, the full scope of their situation became clear. They were not guests invited to join an alliance of equals. They were prisoners being prepared for some kind of ultimatum. "They want to turn humanity into their servants," Mi Young said bitterly. "All this talk about membership is just a cover story." Dongmin had been studying the guard rotations and security protocols. "I think I can get us out of here if necessary. But we'd have to move fast, and we'd have to leave immediately." Sun He was analyzing everything they had learned about council psychology and behavior. "They see humans as a threat, but also as an opportunity. We're expanding too fast for their comfort, but we're also producing resources they want." "So they want to put us in a cage," Hyunwoo said. "Let us work and produce for them, but never let us become truly independent." A soft chime indicated an incoming message. Mi Young checked her communication device and found a formal notice. "The human delegation will appear before the full council tomorrow for final deliberations regarding their status." "Final deliberations," Dongmin repeated. "That sounds like they've already made their decision." Hyunwoo looked out the window at the lights of Nexus Prime. Somewhere in the darkness beyond, human colonies were continuing their peaceful lives, unaware that their freedom might end tomorrow. "If they think they can intimidate humanity into submission," he said quietly, "they're about to learn something important about human nature. We didn't become a spacefaring civilization by backing down from bullies." But even as he spoke those brave words, Hyunwoo knew they were in serious danger. The council had all the advantages here. They controlled the station, the guards, and the communications. Whatever happened tomorrow, it would happen on their terms. The question was whether humanity would ever learn what happened to their diplomatic mission, or whether the delegation would simply disappear into the vast darkness between the stars. The final session began with a show of force that left no doubt about the council's intentions. Armed guards surrounded the human delegation as they entered the chamber. The usual diplomatic protocols were ignored. Instead of being escorted to their designated area, the humans were placed in the center of the chamber, surrounded by the 12 council member species. Primarch Zilmoth's crystal form pulsed with cold light as it began to speak. The Council has reached its decision regarding humanity's status in the galactic community. You will listen carefully to what follows. Hyunwoo felt his team tense beside him. Mi Young's hand moved slightly toward her communication device. Dongmin's military training made him automatically assess escape routes. Sun He focused on reading the body language of the various alien species around them. Humanity has expanded beyond the bounds of wisdom, Zilmoth continued. Your species shows dangerous tendencies toward aggression and territorial acquisition. Left unchecked, you will become a threat to galactic stability. We have never attacked another species, Hyunwoo protested. Our expansion has been peaceful. We have defended ourselves against pirates and hostile forces, but we have never started a war. A Morden counselor swirled with agitation. Your very existence is aggressive. 50 systems in 2 centuries. That rate of expansion has not been seen since the Kethari expansion wars 3,000 years ago. The spider-like Kethari clicked angrily at this comparison. We expanded through conquest and domination. Humans expand through breeding and settlement. The scale is completely different. The result is the same, Zilmoth said firmly. Unchecked human expansion threatens the established order. This cannot be allowed to continue. What exactly are you proposing? Sun He asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. Council offers humanity 3 choices, Zilmoth announced. First, you may accept Council oversight of all human activities. Council advisors will be placed in charge of your government, military, and economic systems. You will expand only with Council permission and only to areas the Council designates. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. This was not membership in the galactic community. This was conquest disguised as protection. Second, the Primarch continued, humanity may voluntarily relocate to a designated reservation zone. 10 systems in the Outer Rim have been selected for human habitation. All existing colonies outside this zone will be abandoned. 10 systems? Mi Young gasped. Humanity has 50 million people spread across 50 systems. 10 systems couldn't hold a fraction of our population. Population. Control is a necessary part of responsible galactic citizenship, a tree-like Krexhari counselor said calmly. Unlimited breeding leads to unlimited expansion. This must stop. Dongmin stepped forward, his military bearing evident in every movement. And the third option? Zilmoth's light pulsed with what might have been satisfaction. The third option is corrective action. If humanity refuses to accept guidance voluntarily, the Council will be forced to impose solutions. Your military forces will be dismantled. Your colonies will be placed under direct Council administration. Your people will be relocated whether they consent or not. That's not an option, Hyunwoo said firmly. That's a threat. It is reality, Zilmoth replied. Young species always resist wisdom at first. The Velthari have guided dozens of species through this process over the millennia. Once you accept your place in the galactic order, you will find it quite comfortable. Sun He was studying the council members carefully. What happened to the species that refused all 3 options? The question hung in the air like a poison cloud. Several council members shifted uncomfortably. Others seemed to find the silence amusing. Finally, a small furry species that had not spoken before answered in a voice like grinding sand. The Jakar refused guidance 15 centuries ago. Their homeworld is now a mining operation. Very productive, actually. You destroyed an entire civilization? Hyunwoo asked, horrified. We corrected a problem, Zilmoth said without emotion. The Jakar were given the same choices you now face. They chose to resist. The consequences were educational for other species. Mi-young felt sick. How many species have you corrected over the centuries? Enough to ensure galactic stability, the Morden counselor replied. Peace requires order. Order requires hierarchy. Hierarchy requires that young species accept guidance from their elders. This isn't guidance, Dongmin said angrily. This is slavery with fancy words. Call it what you wish, Zilmoth said. The options remain the same. You have one standard day to consider your choice and provide an answer. I don't need a day, Hyunwoo said, standing as straight as his diplomatic training allowed. Humanity rejects all three options. We will not accept slavery, reservation, or conquest. We are a free people, and we will remain free. The chamber erupted in sounds of surprise, anger, and what might have been approval from different species. Clearly, not many species had refused the Council's ultimatum so directly. You speak for your entire species, Zilmoth asked dangerously. I speak for the human spirit, Hyunwoo replied. The same spirit that carried us from caves to the stars. The same spirit that makes us explore, build, and grow. You cannot cage that spirit with laws or threats. A new voice entered the conversation. It belonged to a species that had been silent throughout the previous sessions. The being looked like flowing liquid metal with dozens of eye stalks. Fascinating. Do you truly believe your primitive weapons and small fleet can resist the combined might of the Galactic Council? I believe that freedom is worth fighting for, Hyunwoo said simply. Even if that fight is hopeless, the liquid metal being pressed. Especially then. He noticed that the environmental controls in their section had changed again. The air was becoming slightly thinner, and the temperature was dropping. They were running out of time. Sir, she whispered to Hyunwoo, they're altering our life support. I think they're planning to make us unconscious. Dongmin had already noticed the increased number of guards moving into position. Whatever they're planning, it's about to happen. Mi-young tried once more to send a message to Earth, but the jamming was complete. No signal could get through the station's communication barriers. Zilmoth's crystal form pulsed with finality. You have chosen resistance. This choice has consequences. Guards, take them into custody. As the alien guards moved forward with weapons drawn, Hyunwoo stood firm. Whatever you do to us, humanity will learn of it. Our people will know that we stood firm. They will know that you offered us chains and called them gifts. They will know nothing, Zilmoth said coldly. Your ship suffered an unfortunate accident during departure. Debris was found, but no survivors. Tragic losses during dangerous space travel are common for primitive species. The guards were almost upon them now. Dongmin tensed, ready to fight, but Hyunwoo put a restraining hand on his arm. No, the ambassador said quietly. Let them take us. But let them remember that. We faced them without fear. As the alien weapons surrounded them, Mi-young managed to activate a hidden recording device. If they were going to die, at least there would be some record of what had happened here. The last thing she recorded was Hyunwoo's voice, clear and strong despite their desperate situation. Humanity remembers its friends and its enemies. We forgive the first and never forget the second. The chamber filled with the sounds of struggle as the human delegation was overwhelmed by superior numbers. But their words echoed in the vast space, and several council member species seemed troubled by what they had heard. Freedom, they had learned, was not something that could be easily broken, even when the ones who fought for it faced impossible odds. The holding cells beneath the council chambers were designed to contain beings from many different species. The walls could shift to provide different atmospheres, gravities, and temperatures. For humans, they had chosen standard Earth conditions, but the psychological effect was still crushing. The cells were small, windowless, and completely cut off from the outside universe. Hyun-woo and Sun-hee had been placed in one cell, while Mi-young and Dong-min were in another nearby. They could hear each other talking, but thick barriers prevented any physical contact. "How long do you think they'll keep us here?" Sun-hee asked quietly. "Not long," Hyun-woo replied. "They made their point about our ship having an accident. I don't think they plan to keep us alive much longer." Through the walls, they could hear Mi-young working on something electronic. "I'm trying to modify my communication device," she called softly. "Maybe I can break through their jamming if I boost the signal enough." "Be careful," Dong-min warned. "If they catch you with unauthorized equipment, they might decide to end this sooner." Hours passed in the artificial twilight of the holding area. Guards checked on them regularly, but the aliens seemed more interested in making sure the prisoners were still alive than in providing comfort or information. Then, without warning, the cell doors opened. A squad of heavily armed guards surrounded, each cell weapons ready. Behind them came Primarch Zilmoth and several other council members. "It is time," Zilmoth announced. "The council has prepared a demonstration for the galaxy. You will play an important role in this lesson." "What kind of demonstration?" Hyun-woo asked, though he suspected he didn't want to know the answer. "A lesson about the consequences of defying galactic law," the Primarch replied. "Other species need to understand what happens to those who refuse council guidance." The guards forced the human delegation to march through long corridors toward an area of the station they had never seen before. As they walked, Sun-hee noticed that they were being recorded by floating camera devices. Whatever was about to happen, it was going to be broadcast. They emerged into a vast amphitheater with viewing areas for different types of alien spectators. The chamber could hold thousands of beings, and it was filling rapidly. Representatives from dozens of species were taking their assigned positions. In the center of the amphitheater was a raised platform with 4 chairs that were clearly designed to restrain prisoners. The chairs were surrounded by machinery that hummed with deadly energy. "Plasma incineration devices," Dong-min identified grimly. "Military-grade execution equipment." Mi-young felt her blood turn to ice. "They're going to kill us publicly to terrify other species into submission." As they were forced toward the platform, Hyun-woo called out to the gathering crowd. "Citizens of the galaxy! We are here because we refuse to accept slavery. We are here because we believe all species deserve freedom." "Silence," Zilmoth commanded. "You are here because you defied the natural order." But Hyun-woo continued speaking, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustics. "They offered us 3 choices: slavery, exile, or death. We chose freedom instead. Remember this when they come for your species next." The guards moved faster now, trying to get the humans secured before they could say more. But the damage was already done. Murmurs rippled through the crowd as species representatives began to understand what they were witnessing. As they reached the platform, the guards separated the 4 humans. Mi Young and Dongmin were pushed to one side, while Hyunwoo and Sun Hee were forced into the restraint chairs. "Why only two?" Sun Hee asked, though she was afraid she already knew. "The other two will watch," Zilmoth explained with cold satisfaction. "They will carry the message back to humanity. They will tell your species what happens to those who defy the Council." Mi Young struggled against the guards holding her. "You can't do this! It's murder!" "It is justice," the Primarch replied. "Justice decided by beings far older and wiser than your primitive species." The restraint chairs locked into place around Hyunwoo and Sun Hee. The ambassador looked across at his colleague and saw determination in her eyes despite their desperate situation. "Sun Hee," he said quietly, "it has been an honor to serve with you." "The honor was mine, Ambassador," she replied formally. Then more softly, "Do you think our deaths will mean anything?" "I think our people will remember," Hyunwoo said, "and I think they will answer." Zilmoth activated a broadcasting system that carried the signal across the galaxy. "Let all species witness what befalls those who challenge the established order. Let this serve as a warning to any who would repeat humanity's mistake." In the viewing areas, representatives from various species watched with different reactions. Some seemed eager to see the demonstration. Others appeared uncomfortable or even horrified. A few were clearly taking notes on the Council's methods. The plasma incineration devices began to charge with energy that made the air itself crackle. The sound was like a growing storm, building toward an inevitable lightning strike. Hyunwoo used his final moments to speak directly to the camera devices recording everything. "My name is Ambassador Hyunwoo Kim of Earth. I speak for humanity when I say that we will not bow to tyrants, no matter how ancient or powerful they claim to be." Sun Hee added her own words. "I am Dr. Sun Hee Cho. I have studied many species across the galaxy. Today I learned that some species mistake age for wisdom and power for righteousness. They are wrong on both counts." "Your words change nothing," Zilmoth said. "Your species will submit or be destroyed." "Our species will surprise you," Hyunwoo replied calmly. "We always have." The energy buildup reached critical levels. The plasma devices were moments from firing. In those final seconds, Mi Young managed to activate the modified communication device she had been working on. The signal was weak and would not last long, but it carried the execution broadcast beyond the station's jamming field. The plasma weapons fired simultaneously, filling the platform with blinding light and unbearable heat. The restraint chairs and their occupants disappeared in an instant, leaving only scorched metal and empty space. The amphitheater fell silent except for the cooling sounds of the weapons powering down. Some species, representatives, looked sick. Others appeared satisfied. But all had received the message the Council intended to send. "Let this be recorded in the archives of all species," Zilmoth announced. "The Galactic Council maintains order. Those who disturb that order face consequences." But even as the Primarch spoke, something was happening that the Council had not anticipated. Mi Young's desperate signal had reached human monitoring stations on the edge of Council space. The execution broadcast was already spreading through human communication networks. The Council had intended to demonstrate their power. Instead, they had just declared war on a species they did not understand. As Mi Young and Dong Min were dragged away to face their own uncertain fate, the last thing they heard was the continued murmur of conversation among the alien spectators. Some species were already discussing what they had witnessed. Others were asking uncomfortable questions about the Council's methods. The demonstration had been successful, but not in the way the Council had planned. Instead of showing strength, they had revealed their true nature to the galaxy. And somewhere, in the darkness between stars, humanity was about to learn that their diplomatic mission had ended in murder. The signal reached monitoring station Echo 7 first. Lieutenant Hae-Jin Park was 3 hours into her shift when the communication array detected an emergency transmission from deep space. At first, she thought it was another merchant ship reporting pirate activity. Those reports had been increasing lately, but when she decoded the signal, her coffee cup slipped from her fingers and shattered on the floor. "Commander Wei to the communication center immediately," she called over the station intercom. "Priority Alpha emergency." Commander Dal-Su Wei arrived within minutes to find his communication officer staring at her screens with a look of shock and horror. "What is it, Lieutenant?" he asked. "Sir, we've received video transmission from the diplomatic mission to Nexus Prime. It's very bad, sir." Wei looked at the frozen image on the screen. It showed Ambassador Hyunwoo strapped to some kind of device, surrounded by alien guards. "Play it from the beginning." For the next several minutes, the two officers watched in growing horror as the execution unfolded. They heard Hyunwoo's final words, saw the plasma weapons charge, and witnessed the murder of Earth's diplomatic representative. "How long ago was this transmitted?" Wei asked quietly. "Signal lag suggests it happened approximately 6 hours ago, sir. But, Commander, there's more. I'm detecting similar transmissions being broadcast on multiple frequencies throughout Council space. They're showing this to the entire galaxy." Wei felt sick. Not only had they murdered human diplomats, but they were using the executions as propaganda to terrorize other species. "Get me a direct link to Earth Command immediately," he ordered. "Maximum encryption, highest priority, and Lieutenant, prepare copies of everything for our courier drones. If something happens to our communication array, this information has to reach home." Within an hour, the transmission had reached Earth through multiple channels. Admiral Tae Hyun Jang was in a meeting with his senior staff when the emergency alert came through. "Sir, you need to see this immediately," said Captain Eugene Seo, his aide. "It's from Nexus Prime. It's about the diplomatic mission." The Admiral's conference room fell silent as the execution footage played. Experienced military officers, people who had seen combat and death, watched in stunned disbelief as their ambassador was murdered in cold blood. "Those bastards," whispered General Kyung-min Oh. "They invited our people to talk peace, then killed them for the entertainment of their allies." "How many people have seen this?" Admiral Jang asked. "The signal was broadcast on open frequencies throughout Council space," Captain Seo reported. "We estimate at least 50 species received the transmission. They wanted everyone to see what happens to humans who defy them." Admiral Jang stood and walked to the window overlooking the Terran Defense Force headquarters. In the distance, he could see the construction yards where Earth's newest ships were being built. Ships that the galaxy thought were simple cargo haulers and colony transports. "Get me President Lim immediately," he said, "and activate the emergency defense protocols. All of them." "Sir," Captain Seo asked carefully, "should I alert our deep space assets?" "Alert everything," the Admiral replied grimly. "It's time for the galaxy to learn what humanity is really capable of." An hour later, President Yoon-ji Lim addressed an emergency session of the World Council. The execution footage had already leaked to public networks, and riots were beginning in major cities across Earth. "Citizens of Earth and all human colonies," she began, "today we learned that our diplomatic mission to the Galactic Council has ended in tragedy. Ambassador Hyun-woo Kim and Dr. Sun-hee Cho were murdered by council forces after refusing to accept terms that would have enslaved our entire species. The World Council chamber was filled with angry voices calling for immediate military action. President Lim raised her hand for silence. The council believes they have taught us a lesson about power. They are correct, but not in the way they intended. Today, we learned that there can be no peace with beings who see murder as diplomacy. In a secure bunker beneath the capital, Defense Minister Chang-ho Park was meeting with Dr. Kyung-soo Han, head of Advanced Weapons Research. On the table between them lay plans that had been classified at the highest levels for over 30 years. "How long to activate Project Prometheus?" the Defense Minister asked. "The deep space assets are already in position," Dr. Han replied. "We can begin operations within 72 hours. But, sir, once we start this, there's no going back. The galaxy will never see humanity the same way again." "They murdered our diplomats and broadcast it as entertainment," Chang-ho said coldly. "They've already decided how they see humanity. Now it's time to show them who we really are." Across human space, other conversations were taking place in hidden facilities and secret locations. Captain Jae-won-yoon received coded orders aboard the dreadnought Indomitable Will, hidden inside the asteroid field of the Kepler 442 system. The ship was 10 times larger than any vessel the galaxy thought humans possessed. "All hands to battle stations," he announced over the ship's communication system. "After 30 years of hiding, it's time to come out of the shadows." Commander So-Jin Lee was briefing her pilots aboard the stealth carrier Ghost Wind. Her squadron had spent years training for a war that everyone hoped would never come. "Ladies and gentlemen," she told her pilots, "the Council just made the biggest mistake in galactic history. They think they've been fighting human merchants and colonists. Today they're going to meet the Terran Defense Force." Dr. Yejin Moon was activating AI systems that had been dormant for decades. The area network came online across dozens of hidden facilities, ready to coordinate military operations across thousands of light years instantly. "Aria, run final diagnostics on all deep space assets," she commanded. "All systems operational, Dr. Moon," the AI responded. "Stealth networks are undetected. Enemy forces are unaware of our true capabilities. Shall I begin strategic analysis? For Operation Righteous Fury, begin analysis. And Aria, make sure they pay for what they did." Colonel Min-ho Kim stood in a command center that officially didn't exist, watching as thousands of hidden defense platforms came online throughout human space. Weapons that the galaxy thought were mining stations and communication relays revealed their true purpose. "Sir," reported his aide, "all Ghost platforms are responding. The defense grid is fully operational." "Excellent," the colonel replied. "For 30 years, we've been building this network while pretending to be peaceful traders. Today we find out if our preparations were worth it." Back on Earth, President Lim was concluding her address to the world. "The Council offered us 3 choices: slavery, exile, or death. We rejected all 3. Today we offer them a choice of our own: justice or consequences. They murdered our people. Now they will answer for it." As she spoke, courier ships were already launching from hidden bases throughout human space. Each carried the same message to human colonies: the war has begun. Execute Plan Prometheus. But the most important message was being prepared for the Galactic Council itself. Admiral Jang was recording a response that would be transmitted directly to Nexus Prime. "To the beings who call themselves the Galactic Council," he began, "you have made a grave error. You believed that murdering our diplomats would teach humanity about power. You are correct. Today we learned that some species mistake age for wisdom and size for strength. You are about to learn that humanity's greatest discoveries are made when we are pressed beyond our limits. The transmission ended with a simple statement. Our diplomats came in peace. Our warriors come for justice. You wanted to show the galaxy what happens to humans who defy you. Now the galaxy will learn what happens to anyone who murders human diplomats. Across the galaxy, species representatives who had witnessed the execution were about to discover that humanity had been preparing for this day for much longer than anyone realized. The asteroid field in the Kepler 442 system looked ordinary enough to casual observers. Massive rocks tumbled slowly through space, rich with the metals that human miners had been extracting for decades. But deep inside the largest asteroid, Captain Jae-won Yoon stood on the bridge of a ship that would have shocked the galaxy. The TDF Indomitable Will was 3 kilometers long and packed with technology that officially didn't exist. For 30 years, human engineers had been building warships inside hollowed-out asteroids, disguising construction as mining operations. The galaxy thought humans were digging for metals. They were actually building the most advanced fleet in known space. "Captain," reported his first officer, Commander In-soo Kim, "all systems are operational. The quantum displacement drive is ready for activation." "And our sister ships?" Jae-won asked. 17 dreadnoughts reporting ready status. The entire Ghost Fleet is operational and undetected. Jae-won looked at the tactical display showing Council space. Red markers indicated major military installations that the Council believed were untouchable. They were about to learn otherwise. "Signal the fleet," he ordered. "Operation Righteous Fury begins in 6 hours. Time to show them what human mining ships have really been building." Meanwhile, aboard the stealth carrier Ghostwind, Commander So-Jin Lee was briefing pilots who had trained for years in complete secrecy. The carrier itself was invisible to conventional sensors, using quantum stealth technology that bent light and energy around the ship. "For 3 decades, you've been the best-kept secret in human space," she told her squadron. "Today you become the worst nightmare in Council space. Remember your training, remember our lost diplomats, and remember that surprise is our greatest weapon." Lieutenant Woo Young Park raised his hand. "Commander, intelligence reports suggest the Council has over 10,000 ships. We have maybe 200. How do we even the odds?" "We don't fight fair," So-Jin replied with a cold smile. "We fight smart. Every ship in our fleet is worth 50 of theirs. Every pilot in this room has trained against AI systems that simulate their best warriors, and we have advantages they can't even imagine." She activated a holographic display showing the sleek fighters her pilots would be flying. To untrained eyes, they looked like modified cargo shuttles. In reality, they were marvels of human engineering. "Quantum tunneling drives," she explained. "You can appear inside enemy formations without warning. Adaptive armor that learns from incoming fire and becomes stronger. AI-assisted targeting that can track 1,000 enemies simultaneously, and weapons that can disable entire fleets with electromagnetic pulses." The pilots studied their fighter specifications with growing amazement. These weren't the simple craft they had expected. These were technological marvels disguised as ordinary ships. At the Advanced Weapons Research Facility on Mars, Dr. Ye-jin Moon was bringing online the most sophisticated AI network ever created. ARIA was not just a computer program, it was a distributed intelligence that could coordinate military operations across the entire galaxy in real time. "ARIA, run tactical analysis on all Council military assets," she commanded. "Analysis complete, Dr. Moon," the AI responded instantly. Council forces rely on conventional tactics unchanged for centuries. Their ships are large, heavily armored, but slow and predictable. Recommended strategy: hit and run attacks using quantum tunneling technology to bypass their defenses. What about their planetary shields? Dr. Moon asked. Their shield technology is based on deflecting energy weapons. Our kinetic projectiles and matter disruptors will penetrate easily. Most importantly, their command and control systems are centralized and vulnerable to cyber warfare. Dr. Moon smiled. Then prepare to introduce them to human cyber warfare. Area began activating hidden programs that had been quietly infiltrating Council computer networks for years. Disguised as routine maintenance updates and harmless data exchanges, human AI systems had been mapping every database, every communication network, and every security system in Council space. On the hidden fortress world of New Geneva, Colonel Min-Ho Kim was overseeing the activation of the most ambitious deception in military history. For 3 decades, humans had been building what they called ghost platforms throughout their territory. The galaxy saw them as communication relays, scientific stations, and mining facilities. In reality, they were weapons platforms armed with artillery that could strike targets hundreds of light years away. Colonel, reported Major Yoon-Young Choi, all ghost platforms are online. We have firing solutions on every major Council installation within 500 light years. How many platforms do we have operational? Min-Ho asked. 15,000, sir. Each one armed with quantum artillery, electromagnetic pulse weapons, and matter disruptors. The enemy thinks they're facing mining equipment. They're actually facing the largest artillery network in galactic history. The colonel looked at tactical displays showing Council space covered with targeting markers. Every important facility was already in the crosshairs of hidden human weapons. But the most shocking revelation was happening in the Outer Rim territories, where Admiral Hye-Jin Choi commanded humanity's secret research fleets. Ships that the galaxy thought were exploring empty space had actually been developing weapons that would revolutionize warfare. Admiral, reported her science officer, Commander Dong-Jin Park, the Nova Lance prototypes are ready for field testing. Explain the capabilities for the record, she requested. The Nova Lance uses controlled quantum tunneling to deliver star core material directly into enemy ships. No shields can stop it because the material appears inside the target. A single shot can destroy anything smaller than a space station. Admiral Choi studied the weapon specifications. And the temporal disruptors? They create localized time distortions around enemy ships. From our perspective, enemy vessels appear to move in slow motion. From their perspective, we appear to be moving impossibly fast. How many ships are equipped with these weapons? 50 vessels have Nova Lance systems. 20 ships carry temporal disruptors. All are disguised as scientific research platforms. As reports poured in from hidden installations throughout human space, the true scope of humanity's preparations became clear. While the galaxy watched humans spread peacefully across the stars, they had actually been building the most advanced military force in known history. Fleet Admiral Ji-Hoon Seo, Supreme Commander of all human forces, reviewed the strategic situation from his flagship, the TDF Terra's Wrath. The ship was hidden in the dark space between galaxies, where no Council forces would think to look. Status report, he requested. Sir, reported his aide, Captain Su-Jin. Oh, Ghost Fleet is ready. Stealth squadrons are in position. Artillery platforms are online. Research fleets are armed and waiting. Total strength, 600 major warships, 3,000 fighters, 15,000 artillery platforms, and 50 experimental weapons systems. And our newest addition? Captain O smiled grimly. The Prometheus weapon is fully operational. Dr. Han's team completed final testing yesterday. Fleet Admiral SAO looked at the classified specifications for Project Prometheus. After 30 years of secret development, humanity had created something that would change warfare forever, a weapon that could turn a star into a directed energy beam. The Council believes they are facing primitive humans with simple weapons, he said quietly. Instead, they are about to face the combined fury of humanity's hidden strength. Signal all commands. Operation Righteous Fury is authorized. Show them what happens when humanity goes to war. Across human space, thousands of disguised military installations began revealing their true nature. Mining ships transformed into warships. Communication arrays became artillery platforms. Research stations revealed advanced weapons systems. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's rapid expansion had not been driven by curiosity and hope. It had been driven by the knowledge that someday they would need to defend themselves against enemies who saw them as inferior. That someday had arrived. The first strike came without warning. Admiral Taehyun Jang had planned it that way. The Council expected retaliation, but they expected it to come from Earth or human colonies. They did not expect it to come from inside their own territory. Council, Fleet Base Terminus, was the most heavily defended installation in Velthari space. 300 warships patrolled the system, supported by orbital defense platforms and planetary shields. The base commanders believed it was untouchable. They were wrong. Captain Bo-Ra Shin materialized her strike force directly inside the system using quantum tunneling drives. One moment, Council sensors showed empty space. The next, 40 human. Warships appeared in perfect attack formation. All ships, engage at will, Bo-Ra commanded. Remember our diplomats. The human ships moved like nothing the Council had ever seen. Instead of engaging in traditional fleet battles, they used quantum tunneling to appear and disappear around enemy vessels. Council weapons fired at positions where human ships had been moments before, hitting nothing but empty space. Meanwhile, the human weapons were devastatingly effective. Nova Lance systems delivered star core material directly inside enemy ships, bypassing shields entirely. Temporal disruptors slowed enemy movements while human forces struck with impossible speed. "Impossible!" transmitted the Council Fleet Commander. "How are they doing this?" His question was answered by the destruction of his flagship. A Nova Lance shot materialized inside the ship's engine core, and 3 seconds later, the massive vessel was an expanding cloud of debris. Within 20 minutes, the entire Council fleet was destroyed. Not a single human ship was seriously damaged. But Bo-Ra's mission was not complete. "Ghost Squadron, begin Phase 2, she ordered. Stealth fighters appeared around the orbital defense platforms. These platforms had protected Velthari space for 1,000 years. They lasted exactly 6 minutes against human fighters equipped with matter disruptors and quantum artillery. The planetary shields fell next. Council engineers had designed them to stop energy weapons and kinetic projectiles. They had never imagined weapons that could tunnel through space itself to appear on the other side of the barriers. "This is Captain Bo-Ra Shin of the Terran Defense Force," she broadcast to the planet below. "Your military assets have been neutralized. Surrender now, and your civilians will not be harmed. Continue resistance, and we will demonstrate why humanity does not forgive the murder of diplomats." Similar scenes were playing out across Council space. Commander Woo Jin Choi led the assault on the Mordun manufacturing worlds, where the gas-based aliens had built the ships used to enforce Council rule. Target the shipyards first, he ordered his squadron. Then the command centers. Leave the civilian areas untouched. The Mordoon defenders tried to stop the human attack with their traditional tactics. They formed defensive walls of overlapping fire, creating zones where no ship could survive. But human ships simply tunneled through the walls, appearing behind enemy lines to strike at will. "This is not warfare," transmitted a Mordoon commander. "This is impossible." "This is justice," Wu Jin replied as his Nova Lance destroyed another enemy shipyard. "You murdered our people. Now face the consequences." The AI network that Dr. Ye-Jin Moon had activated was proving even more devastating than the human fleet. Arya had spent years infiltrating Council computer systems, and now those systems turned against their owners. "Arya, status report on cyber operations," Dr. Moon requested. "Cyber warfare operations are exceeding projections," the AI reported. "I have gained control of 47% of Council communication networks, 32% of their defense systems, and 68% of their manufacturing facilities. What about their military computers? Council military systems are more heavily protected, but their protection is based on outdated assumptions. I am systematically breaking through their firewalls. Estimated time to complete military network penetration, 4 hours. As Arya spoke, Council military commanders across the galaxy were discovering that their own computers were betraying them. Weapon systems refused to fire. Navigation computers provided false coordinates. Communication networks spread disinformation instead of orders. The most shocking attack came at Nexus Prime itself, where the execution of human diplomats had taken place. The space station was defended by the combined fleets of all 12 Council member species. Over 2,000 warships protected the political heart of the galactic government. Fleet Admiral Ji-Hoon Seo led this assault personally aboard his flagship Terra's Wrath. As his fleet emerged from quantum tunnels around the station, he opened a communication channel to the entire galaxy. "People of the galaxy," he broadcast, "this is Fleet Admiral Ji-Hoon Seo of the Terran Defense Force. 3 days ago, the Galactic Council murdered our diplomats and broadcast their deaths as entertainment. Today, humanity responds. The battle for Nexus Prime was unlike anything in galactic history. Council forces outnumbered the humans 5-1, but numbers meant nothing when human technology made traditional warfare obsolete. Human fighters used temporal disruptors to move faster than enemy sensors could track. Human warships tunneled through space to appear inside enemy formations. Human artillery platforms, hidden throughout the system disguised as asteroids, revealed themselves to rain fire on Council positions. Primarch Zilmoth, Admiral Seo transmitted, directly to the Council chambers. "Your forces are defeated. Your fleets are destroyed. Surrender now or face total annihilation." But the most terrifying demonstration was yet to come. Dr. Kyung-Soo Han activated Project Prometheus from a hidden facility in deep space. The project was humanity's ultimate weapon, a device that could turn a star into a directed energy weapon. Target: the uninhabited Kethari system, Dr. Han announced. Demonstrate the Prometheus effect. The weapon reached across space to touch the system's star. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the star itself began to change. Its output increased by a factor of 10, then 100, then 1,000. The directed energy beam that emerged was brighter than a supernova and lasted for exactly 60 seconds. When it ended, the Kethari system was gone. Not destroyed, simply gone. Even the space where it had existed was different. marked by gravitational anomalies that would persist for millions of years. That system was uninhabited, Admiral CO broadcast to the Council. The next target will not be unless you surrender immediately. The psychological effect was instant and devastating. Council member species had believed they were the masters of the galaxy, protected by superior numbers and ancient wisdom. In 3 days, humanity had demonstrated technology that made their achievements look primitive. But it was Colonel Min-ho, Kim, who delivered the final blow. His hidden artillery platforms opened fire simultaneously on every major Council installation within 500 light-years. Military bases, government centers, and fleet headquarters came under attack from weapons they couldn't see and couldn't fight. All Council military assets in human space are now under attack, he broadcast. You have stolen from us for decades while pretending to offer friendship. Consider this collection of overdue debts. The reports poured in from across the galaxy. Council fleets destroyed, military bases captured, government centers under siege. In 72 hours, humanity had dismantled a galactic empire that had ruled for thousands of years. But the most important message came from Mi-young Park and Dong-min Lee, the survivors of the diplomatic mission. They had escaped from Nexus Prime during the chaos of the human attack and were now broadcasting from a captured Council facility. This is Mi-young Park, aide to the late Ambassador Hyun-woo Kim, she announced. 3 days ago, we came to the Council seeking peace. We were offered slavery instead. Ambassador Kim and Dr. Sun-hee Cho died rather than accept that slavery. Today, their sacrifice has been answered. Dong-min stepped forward. The galaxy has seen what happens when peaceful humans are pushed beyond their limits. We hoped for friendship. We prepared for war. The Council chose war. Now they face the full might of aroused humanity. As the human offensive continued across the galaxy, species representatives who had witnessed the diplomatic execution began to understand what they had really seen. They had watched the moment when humanity decided that some things were worth fighting for, no matter the odds. The Council had wanted to teach the galaxy a lesson about power. They had succeeded, but the lesson was not what they intended. The galaxy had learned that true power came not from age or tradition, but from the willingness to fight for justice no matter the cost. The war lasted exactly 1 week. 7 days after humanity unleashed its hidden strength, the Galactic Council sent a message of complete surrender to Fleet Admiral Ji-hoon Seo aboard his flagship. The message was brief and unconditional. We yield. The surrender ceremony took place in the same amphitheater where Ambassador Hyun-woo Kim and Dr. Sun-hee Cho had been executed. But now the platform that had held execution chairs was replaced by a simple table where documents would be signed. Primarch Zilmoth stood before Admiral Seo with its crystal form dim and fractured. The being that had once commanded the galaxy now looked fragile and defeated. Around the chamber, representatives from the 12 Council species waited in silence. You have demonstrated superior force, Zilmoth said through its translation device. The Council accepts human authority and requests terms for peace. Admiral Seo looked at the alien leader who had ordered the murder of his people. There will be no human authority over other species, he said clearly. Humanity did not fight this war to become conquerors. We fought to ensure that no species would ever again face the choice between slavery and death. The Primarch's crystal form flickered with confusion. You do not seek to rule the galaxy? We seek justice, Admiral Seo replied. Justice for our murdered diplomats. Justice for the species you have oppressed. Justice for all beings who deserve to live free. Me Young. Park stepped forward, carrying the documents that would reshape galactic civilization. She had survived the diplomatic mission and lived to see humanity's response. Now, she would help write the laws that would prevent such atrocities in the future. The Terran Accords, she announced, establish new principles for galactic governance. First, no species may claim ownership over another species or their territory without consent. Second, all species have the right to self-determination and peaceful expansion. Third, war crimes such as the execution of diplomats will be prosecuted by an independent galactic tribunal. Dr. Yejin Moon had prepared the technical aspects of the new order. Her AI network, ARIA, would ensure that no species could hide crimes against others. The new galactic communication network will be administered jointly by all species, she explained. Every species will have equal access to information, trade opportunities, and scientific discoveries. No single group will control the flow of knowledge. President Yoon-ji Lim arrived from Earth to formally establish the new government. She had overseen humanity's transformation from peaceful explorers to galactic liberators. Now she would help guide the galaxy toward a better future. Earth hereby establishes the Galactic Justice Council, she announced. Unlike the old council, this body will include representatives from all species, with decisions made by consensus rather than by the commands of elder races. The surviving council members were required to answer for their crimes. War tribunals were established on neutral worlds, presided over by judges from species that had been oppressed by council rule. Primarch Zilmoth was the first to face trial. The charges included the murder of diplomats, the enslavement of species, and the destruction of civilizations that refused to submit. "How do you answer these charges?" asked Judge Crowthon, a member of a species that had been forced into reservation zones by the council centuries earlier. "I followed the laws and traditions of my people," Zilmoth replied weakly. "Your people's laws permitted murder and slavery," the judge responded. "This tribunal recognizes a higher law, the law that says all intelligent beings deserve freedom and dignity." The trial lasted 3 weeks. Evidence was presented from dozens of species that had suffered under council rule. The Jakar homeworld, destroyed for refusing submission. The Talmiran people, forced into labor camps for expanding too rapidly. The Korthani colonies, stripped of resources and left to starve. When the evidence was complete, Judge Crowthon delivered the verdict. Guilty on all charges. The sentence is exile to the Outer Rim territories, where you will spend the remainder of your existence reflecting on the consequences of your actions. Similar trials were held for other council members. Some received exile. Others were sentenced to perform community service, helping to rebuild the civilizations they had destroyed. A few who had opposed the worst excesses were allowed to return to their homeworlds under supervision. But the most important changes were not punitive. They were constructive. Ambassador Hae-Young Park, Hyunwoo's successor, worked with representatives from across the galaxy to establish new institutions. The Galactic Trade Federation ensured fair commerce between species. The Interspecies Research Consortium shared scientific discoveries freely. The Diplomatic Protection Service guaranteed safe passage for all ambassadors and negotiators. "We remember Ambassador Kim's words," Hae-Young said at the dedication ceremony. He believed that all species could work together for mutual benefit. These institutions will make his vision reality. The military reorganization was equally important. Captain Bo-Ra Shin was promoted to admiral and placed in charge of the new Galactic Defense Force. This fleet would protect all species from pirates, hostile aliens from outside the galaxy, and any group that tried to recreate the old system of oppression. "The Defense Force serves all species equally," she announced. "We will never again allow one group to terrorize others simply because they are older or more numerous." Dr. Kyung-Soo Han's weapons research took a new direction. Instead of developing more destructive technologies, his teams began working on defensive systems and exploration tools. "Humanity's greatest achievement was not the weapons we built," he explained to a gathering of galactic scientists. "It was the decision to build them only when necessary and to put them away when the threat was gone." The Prometheus weapon was decommissioned and its technology classified to prevent misuse. The star that had been used as a demonstration was carefully restored by human scientists working with the galaxy's best astrophysicists. 5 years after the war, the memorial service for Ambassador Hyun-Woo Kim and Dr. Sun-Hee Cho was attended by representatives from over 200 species. The ceremony took place on Earth, in a garden overlooking the headquarters of the new Galactic Justice Council. President Lim gave the keynote address. These two individuals died because they refused to accept injustice. Their sacrifice changed the galaxy forever. Today, no species lives in fear of arbitrary punishment. No people face the choice between slavery and extinction. Freedom has replaced fear as the governing principle of galactic civilization. Among the attendees was Keeper Sylvan, the Velthari who had first greeted the human delegation at Nexus Prime. The being had testified against its own government during the war crimes trials and now served as an advocate for smaller species, seeking representation. "Ambassador Kim would be proud," Sylvan said to Mi Young, who had become Earth's senior diplomat. "His death ended thousands of years of oppression. That is a legacy worth celebrating." Mi Young looked at the memorial statues of her fallen colleagues. The inscriptions were simple but powerful. They chose freedom over life, and in doing so gave freedom to the galaxy. But perhaps the most meaningful tribute came from an unexpected source. A young Jakar named Veltani had traveled from the restored Jakar homeworld to attend the ceremony. Her people had been extinct for over a millennium until human scientists found a way to restore their species from genetic samples preserved in old council databases. "My people exist because humans fought for justice instead of conquest," she said. Ambassador Kim died for beings he had never met, on worlds he had never seen. This is what true leadership looks like. As the ceremony concluded, attendees could see the lights of starships in the sky above Earth. Vessels from hundreds of species carried trade goods, scientific discoveries, and cultural exchanges between worlds. The galaxy hummed with peaceful activity that would have been impossible under the old system. Fleet Admiral Ji-Hoon Seo, now retired and serving as a professor of military ethics, gave the closing remarks. "Humanity did not seek this war. We did not want to become the galaxy's liberators. But when faced with a choice between acceptance and resistance, we chose resistance. When faced with a choice between revenge and justice, we chose justice. The galaxy is better for both decisions." As the stars appeared in Earth's evening sky, each one represented a world where beings lived free from the fear that had once dominated galactic civilization. Ambassador Hyun-Woo Kim and Dr. Sun-Hee Cho had died as diplomats seeking peace. They were remembered as heroes who had given the galaxy something far more valuable: the knowledge that freedom was worth any sacrifice and that justice was possible, even against impossible odds. The galaxy had learned what humanity was truly capable of when pushed beyond its limits. More importantly, it had learned what humanity chose to do with victory once it was achieved. In choosing justice over conquest, mercy over revenge, and freedom over domination, humanity had proven that true strength came not from the power to destroy, but from the wisdom to build something better in place of what was broken. The age of the Galactic Council was over. The age of galactic freedom had begun.